I know how triangles work. Welcome back to Placed on the 55. We're heading into the last week of the CFL, Jess. Week 21. I'm Jon. This is Jess. Let's get into last week's games.
Unfortunately, I had to miss the games on Saturday. I was working the election in British Columbia, but I was following the score, and I definitely, when I eventually got home, I was so impressed with Vernon Adams. Like, the highlights I saw from him, Vernon convinced me and probably everybody else in British Columbia that he's going to start that playoff game.
Yeah, that team made Vernon look really good. The team came out to play for VA. His offensive line still sucks. Like, they still can't stop anybody, but he was getting the ball out a little bit quicker, I think, or making decisions a little bit faster than Nathan.
I think he's faster. I was worried about Vernon Adams being a little rusty. There's no rust at all. If anything, I think Nathan's got a little bit of rust on him. And going into next year, that's going to be really interesting because the Lions are committed more or less to pay him $750,000 next year. They're paying him like $350,000, $400,000 right now. That's only for half the season. But if they bring him back, it's $750,000.
You got to expect Nathan to improve, his timing to get better. Probably VA will get let go over the summer or traded for something.
VA actually takes the Lions to the Grey Cup. Maybe they lose the Grey Cup. Even if it actually takes them there and they win the game at Saskatchewan and then at Winnipeg, I think you almost really got to consider keeping VA around. And maybe you got to release Nathan. I don't know. And especially if he wins the Grey Cup, how can you cut him?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, decisions that we don't have to make or even contemplate, because there's still hopefully 3 games for BC to play. This week we've got 4 games to wrap up the season. BC's sitting on the sidelines, getting some rest. Your record last week was 1-2, finishing week 20 with a 33-44 record. And then I went 1-2 also. And now I sit 43-34 for the season.
Yeah, well, you're still way up on me, but we still have the Grey Cups to go. And Grey Cup rather. Don't forget, my pick to win the Grey Cup is still around.
I think we both picked BC to win the Grey Cup, but I thought it was going to be BC and Hamilton in the Grey Cup, whereas you thought it was going to be BC and Montreal. Neither of us were able to hit that 50 wins for the season. So let's talk about these last 4 games for the season. We're starting off the weekend with Hamilton at Ottawa. Ottawa's had 5 losses coming into this game. And you talk about streaks at the end of the season and who's hot and who's not. And Ottawa has been great at home, but they have not been playing well for the last 5 games. And I wonder if Hamilton, with those extra 2.5 points, is going to be the victor here with the spread. Or is Ottawa going to cover? What's your thought?
Like, all 4 games, unfortunately, really don't mean anything. Betting on these games at the last week, unfortunately, it's kind of like betting on exhibition games. Like, no one really gives a crap who's going to win these games. There's no real placement other than Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. Really hard to bet, and that's why the betting lines came out so late this week. I'm keeping it close to the chest this week and looking forward to the first week of the playoffs next week.
So you're not betting on this game or the other games?
Oh, I'm still betting on them. Yeah, it's just really hard to.
They're all really hard to. All the games this year have been hard. They just don't have any meaning.
I think it's more hard because, like, who's going to throw out their best exhibition players? Like, that's different than who's going to throw out best on best.
So second best versus second best, with or without 2.5 points. Where's your couple bucks going?
I'll take the Ottawas. For sure.
Second best versus second best with 2.5 points. Sounds like I got better odds than without. So I'm going to go Hamilton. The next game's Toronto at Edmonton. Stinky Elks against Chad Kelly. Is he going to reach in there and feel his way to a victory?
Oh, my goodness. They have to go into the playoffs with some sort of momentum. And, why wouldn't you beat up Edmonton on the way in? I like Toronto to cover that 2.5.
Yeah, seems like an easy bet. McLeod, Bethel Thompson, or Trey Ford, don't even know. I'll wager my money with Kelly on this one as well. Third game of the week, Winnipeg versus Montreal. Winnipeg's down 3.5. Montreal losing so badly to BC. They're going to probably try to get their A game on the field and figure out a way to get a win here over Winnipeg.
Maybe. I really don't think they care. Almost it feels like an exhibition game because I wouldn't be surprised if O'Shea pulls everyone at halftime. Why would you risk having people getting hurt in a game that doesn't make any difference?
If Winnipeg loses this game, Saskatchewan's got a chance to be in first in the West. If Winnipeg wins, Saskatchewan's playing for nothing.
That's the problem with the East and Western finalists, is that you do have those 2 weeks off. Sometimes a team that's third place comes roaring out. That's how BC won the Grey Cup in 94.
So you're thinking Winnipeg?
Yeah, I'm taking Winnipeg.
I'm going to go Montreal, I think. Yeah, Montreal for a win, 2 weeks off, and hopefully a loss. I really don't want to see them in the Grey Cup. I'd like them to just stay at home.
Yeah, so then who do you want coming out then there?
I don't care. I just don't like Montreal. I don't like their stupid end zone, how it's small and the corners are missing.
Yeah, Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton used to be just like that when they had a track around Commonwealth. The track has since been removed, but look back in the Warren Moon days and even in the 90s, that track was still there, and they had those same silly little cut-off end zones.
Yeah, you know the big difference, though? It's 2024, and Montreal still has those stupid little cut-off end zones.
Well, that's because the track's still there.
It's a home field advantage.
No, it's the same for both teams.
Yeah, I understand it's the same field for both teams, but your practice reps aren't being thrown into a tiny end zone week after week after week when you're BC.
It's not that tiny. And the end zone is still 20 yards, so it's just a couple of corners that are cut off around where the track goes around. It's not that big of a deal.
I know how triangles work, and I know it's not that much space, but you do the area and the math, and it's missing. And if you're a defensive back covering the receiver, you know I don't have to worry about this guy breaking out that way because it's out of bounds.
Exactly. And it's the exact same thing for the other team the other way.
But your practice reps aren't built that way. When you're in BC doing your practice reps, you got to run all the way to that corner. You don't have to worry about the little corner being missing. I don't like Montreal. Get out of the Grey Cup.
Okay.
Last game of the week. Calgary heads into Saskatchewan. We won't know if this game means anything until we figure out if Winnipeg won or lost the game before.
We're going to wait around again for another hour because the Winnipeg game starts at noon and the Calgary game starts at 4 o'clock. So thanks for that. Again, CTV.
Did you maybe misplace the decimal? I'm sure Calgary is getting 35 points on this, aren't they?
Calgary, 35 points. No, that's 3.5 points.
Well, Calgary's terrible. So if they were getting 35, I might go with them. But I'm going to go Saskatchewan for sure.
Yeah, Dave Dickinson's crew doesn't look that great. Yeah, I feel bad for him. I'm a little worried that, what's going to be his longevity in Calgary?
I think one game.
No, he's a good guy. He's great for the CFL.
All right, so you're going Calgary? Dave's going to get a final win for the season? What's your bet here?
No, I want Dave to win, but I'm going with the Riders.
Yeah, me as well. All right, Jess. If people want to write the show, they can at placedon the55pod@gmail.com or jump into those comments below and leave us a note. We'll chat to you next week.
You got it, John.